The energy transition is going to be one of the largest problems that our generation and the next will see. I see a lot of energy from around the world about how energy is going to transform over the next decades, hundreds of years or so. What is the most ideal scenario for the energy transition over the next several decades? What it comes down to is energy security. Can I have the energy necessary to keep my businesses, my industries, my communities powered and developing? It's a really hard problem. It's because there's so many different elements at play. There's a lot of things that need to change as we look at energy use over the coming decades. And one of those big drivers is technology and how we use it the most effectively. Some of the factors we need to start considering when we think about global energy scenarios is kind of the different lines of power generation. So you think about the renewable sector. We see solar and wind becoming cheaper and cheaper to produce. They are growing in terms of their global budget and being able to take in more power sources. The other contrast to this is natural gas. So natural gas is a carbon producing asset, but slightly cleaner than, say, coal and oil. We see that also increasing through time. We will see a growth in renewables, we'll see a growth in natural gas. The other factors to think about are the hydrogen economy. We're starting to hear lots of noise about this now. We're seeing how hydrogen can be put to use for the big machinery. So we're talking about like tanker ships, we're talking about trains, we're talking about semis. Other factors to consider for kind of the global energy demand is where do biofuels stand? Not only ethanol, but how do we generate power from plant matter and all that? That tracks closer to, say, natural gas in terms of usage. It's not as carbon clean as some of our other energy sources, but it still has a part to play. The other energy source that people talk about is nuclear and how that can supplement a lot of different power sources. In some communities, some nations, that's a better choice than looking at other renewable energy sources. And so keeping nuclear in the equation and understanding that the advances in nuclear development are much greater than what we even understood 10 years ago. And so there's a lot of potential there that needs to be understood. Exploration still has a role to play. We will still need oil and gas going into the future. Now, as we look forward, we see that there's a lot more that needs to be done in terms of developing new energy sources and also understanding our carbon budget. There's a certain sort of a practical approach that we need to take to the energy transition. Here in the United States, I have lots of choices available to me about the cars I buy, the energy usage I get, what products I do or do not buy. There's a large part of this world that does not have the plethora of decisions. What they need to do is make a better life for themselves and for their families. And they will choose the cheapest, most available option. One of the scenarios that's out there is that people are going to become more restricted, more concerned about energy security. They are going to make choices that ensure that they, their neighborhood, their city, their country has secure energy sources going forward.